In this lecture, we're going to learn about how we can get things in our program and get things out of our program. And that's basically input and output to and from our program. We have actually been doing this all along. We have been printing things from our program to the console. And with this technique, you can really think of STDC out as a highway that goes from your program to the terminal. You can basically think of it like this. Data is going from your program to STDC out, and it's going from here to the terminal. And from this, you might get an idea why these less than signs kind of point to the left. Because data is going from your program to STDC out, and these two symbols point to the left. They point to STDC out to signal to the fact that data is going from here to here. I really hope this makes sense because sometimes these things can confuse people. This is the reason why it's going from your data to STDC out. Data is basically going from your program into STDC out. And STDC out is one way we have to get data from our program to the console. There are many others. We have STDCERR or STDSER. This is what I like to call it. And what it does, it prints errors to the console. We have STDC log, which is going to print log messages. Why do we have these different things? Different programs might decide to format these messages differently because they are different messages. One is a simple message from the program, another is an error. You might want to turn this red to really bring the attention to this message because the user has to solve that problem. Another might be a log message that you want to store in some file or some database. Uses for these things differ, and C++ makes sure to give you different ways to state your intent through the tools that you use. We have looked at STDC out, STDCER, and STDC log. What does STDCIN do? It does the reverse. It's going to take data out of the program and bring that into the program. So let's look at a few examples using these. Here we have an example of printing data from the program to the terminal through cout, CER, and CLog. Here we have a hello world message going to cout. Here we have a number going to cout. This is what we've been doing all along. We can also do a variable storing the age, for example. It's a whole number, it's an integer. So we print this out and the message is going to go from the program to cout. So you can think that things are going from the program to STDC out. I really want this to make sense. Okay, if we go down, we're going to see that we can use CER to print errors to the terminal. And we might say something went wrong or something along these lines to bring the attention to the problem. And we can use CLog to print log messages, and they work the same way. They all use the stream output operator, and it is going to take data from the program to the output stream, really. This is what we mean here. Here is an example of how you might read data and bring that into the program. Here we have two variables. One is the age. It's a whole number or an integer in C++. And the other is a string. This is a type that allows you to store strings in C++. We're going to learn a little more about this later, but here I want to use it to really make it clear that you can get things from the outside and bring that data in your program. So we're going to let the user type in the last name, and this statement here with CIN is getting data from the stream or from the highway through which data comes into our program and bringing that in our program. And here it should be clear that the flow of data is in this direction. Data is going from CIN and we're storing that in a variable that we have in our program that is called name. We do the same thing and ask the user to print the age, and they are going to print that, and the data is going to come from CIN, and we're going to store that in our age variable here. After we collect the data from the user, we're going to print that, and we're going to say hello. We're going to print the name, and we're going to say they are whatever years old. This is what this program does, and I really hope it makes it clear how data input works through streams in C++. Another thing we can do with STDCIN is chaining input. And we can use this technique to grab data in one statement. Look at the program down here to really understand this. We have the same variables, age and name. We let the user type in the last name and age separated by spaces. And we grab the data like this. We first grab the name, after that we grab the age, and we're going to print the same things. And we can chain input stream operators like this to grab the data in one go. And this may come in handy sometimes. Before we try these things in Visual Studio Code, I want to bring your attention to a problem that you are likely to come in contact with, and that is reading data with spaces. What if the user types the name with spaces? For example, you ask me to type my name. I'm not going to type Daniel. I'm going to type Daniel Gakwaya, and your program is going to run into problems. C++ allows to solve this problem using std_get_line, and you use it using this syntax. You're going to pass in the stream where the data is going to go, and you're going to pass in the variable that is going to read the data, and you're going to have this information stored correctly in your program. This might be not making sense yet to you. We're going to go to Visual Studio Code and play with this, and I am sure it is going to make sense. Okay, here we are in Visual Studio Code, and we have our project where we're going to store our files, data input and output. We're going to copy code from our template project, and we're going to put the data in. And I am going to open this folder in Visual Studio Code. So let's close whatever we have now, and I am going to open my folder. Let's browse there. I am on this folder, data input and output. I am going to select that, and the project is going to open up in Visual Studio Code. I am going to jump to my main function. I am going to take out things we don't need. And the first thing we're going to do is printing data. We have already done this, so we're going to practice this a little bit. We can say stdcout, and we can say hello C++20. Why not? And we're going to put an std endl at the end, and remember our semicolon. And here I want you to really put in your head that data is going from our program here to stdcout, and stdcout is going to dump that on the terminal. That's how this works. You can also do a variable, let's say int age, for example, let's say 21, and end this with a semicolon. And we can also print the age. We can say stdcout, and we can say age. This is going to be sent to the output stream, and we're going to do stdendl to add a new line character at the end. And we can try and build this before the program gets more complicated. Let's go to terminal. We're going to run the task to build with GCC, and if we hit enter on the terminal here, the terminal is going to go away. We're going to create a new one, no big deal. And if we do dir, we're going to find our Rooster program. If we run it, it's going to say hello C++20, and the age is going to be 21. We are successfully taking data from our program and printing that to the terminal. This is pretty cool. And you can think of stdcout as a highway that is really going to take your data from your program and bring that to stdcout like this. We're also going to take the age. It's going to go through stdcout, and it's going to show up here. You can think of this like this. Okay, now that we have used stdcout, we can use stdcr and stdclog in the same way. So we're going to say stdcr, and we're going to say error message, and the message is going to be something is wrong. You may do whatever you want in here. And we have to remember to put a new line character, otherwise data is going to be cramped on one line. We can also use stdclog. It really works the same way, clog, and we can say log message, and we're going to say something happened. And we remember to put stdendl and our semicolon. If we build this program, you might guess what it's going to do. It's going to print these things on the terminal, but this might be useful to terminal programs that support features to format different messages directly. The program is going to know that one message is a simple message, the other is an error, the other is a log message. Let's run our program. But before we do that, let's clear so that we don't have noise here. We're going to run the program and it's going to say the error message and the log message here. Okay, now what we're going to look at is how we can get data into our program. And data is going to be going in a different direction. It's going to be coming from the terminal and flowing into our program. What we're going to do, we're going to do int age1. This is a new variable, so we're going to put in data. And we're going to bring in a string library to allow our program to store strings. The way we're going to do that, we're going to include string. This is how you do it in C++. We haven't really learned about this type. It's a powerful type in C++, but we will get there when we have more powerful tools to really understand it. We are just getting started here. So what we're going to do, we're going to say std string, and we're going to say name, and we're going to ask the user to print their name and age. You already know how to do that, so we're going to say please type your name and age, and we're going to do stdendl on this. And how we're going to get data in the program, we're going to use stdcin, and we're going to do stdcin, and data is going to be going from the stream to the program, so the stream input operator here points to the right, and the data is going to be going in the name variable because that's what they're going to be typing in first, because that's what we told them to do. So we're going to store the name and we're going to say stdcin. Data is going to be flowing from stdcin into our age1 variable. Okay, now that the user has given us their information, we can greet them with a personalized message. We're going to say stdcout hello, and we're going to put out their name, and we're going to tell them you are, and we're going to put the age 1 because that's what they're going to give us here, and we're going to say years, and we're going to put an stdendl here. I'm going to grab this and pull this to the left so that we can see our entire program here. That's helpful. So what we are doing here, we are getting data from the user and we are storing that in our variables, and we are printing the message so that the user can see it. I don't want the first things we did here to disturb us when we build and try this out. So I am going to comment this out and comment the first block of code out using block comments. I think this is the first time we use this, and this is going to be ignored by the compiler now, and it is only going to consider this. And this is going to be pretty cool. Let's go down a little bit here and try to build the program. We're going to run the task that builds with GCC, and looks like the build is good. We're going to hit enter and we're going to clear so that we are not disturbed by this. We're going to run the program. Let's say rooster.exe. It's going to ask me to type my name and age. My name is Daniel. I'm going to type that, hit enter. It's going to want me to type my age. So I am going to say 33, for example, and it's going to tell me, hello Daniel, you are 33 years old. I put a slash here. We can try and run it again so that I don't have to make that mistake again. So Daniel, that's my name. I hit enter, I say 33, and if I run, it's going to say, hello Daniel, you are 33 years old. I really hope this brings the point home that stdcin is a highway that takes data from the terminal into your program. So this is really what is happening here. When I type Daniel, it's going to flow from the terminal and it's going to go into my variable, which is name here. And when I type the age, it's going to go in my age variable here. And all is happening through stdcin here. Okay, one other thing we can do is grab the data and put that in our variables in one go. So what we can do here is comment this out, and we're going to do stdcin, and we're going to put that in name, and we're going to change these two things and put the other piece of data in age1. If you run the program, it's going to work exactly the same way, but we are grabbing the data in one line. So let's build to see this in action. We're going to run the task .world with GCC. We're going to click here and we're going to clear. If we run Rooster, it's going to ask for the name and the age. I'm going to put in Daniel and I'm going to put my age and say 33, for example. And it's going to do exactly the same thing, but we have one compact line. The last thing I want to show you in this lecture is how you can grab data with spaces, because if I try to put in data with spaces here, the program is going to fail miserably. Let me show you this. I'm going to clear and I'm going to run Rooster again. And I'm going to say Daniel. I'm going to put in my full name, and it's really not grabbing the second name, and it didn't give me a chance to input my age, and this is really bad. So C++ provides a way to solve this using std_getLine. So let's see what we are doing here. And before we play with this, we're going to comment out what we had here so that it doesn't disturb us in what we are about to do. So let's come down here and say that we were doing data input. This is helpful here. And we're going to go down and grab data with spaces. So I am going to set up another string, and this is going to store my full name. That's what I'm going to say here. And to grab it, I'm going to tell the user to type in their full name and age. So I am going to std out. So the way I'm going to grab the data, I'm going to do std_getLine. You see that we have this function here, and it's going to take an input stream. So stdcin is going to work, and the second parameter is going to be the variable where this string data is going to be stored. We're going to pass in our full name, and this is going to work just fine. And we're going to also grab the age using the same technique we've used before. So we're going to say stdcin, and we're going to store that in our age3 variable. Once we have the data, we can greet our user using the same message we had before. So I'm going to copy that, if I can do that, and I'm going to paste that here. I'm going to bring this to the same location. It's going to be full name here, and it's going to say age3. And let's try and build. We're going to terminal, run the task to build with GCC, and we have a problem because we forgot our semicolon. See how these problems might come to you? So we're going to put in our semicolon, and another thing I really want you to see is that you can bring these things to the next line if they turn out too long, like we see here. So I can, for example, put this to the next line, and it is going to work just fine. So what I am going to do, I'm going to try and build again, run task to build with GCC. You see that the build is good. I'm going to bring in our terminal. I'm going to clear so that we don't have noise here, and we're going to run our program. It's going to ask me to put in my full name. I'm going to say Daniel Gakwaya, and it's going to want the age. I'm going to say 33, and it's going to greet me, hello Daniel Gakwaya, you are 33 years old. We are able to bring data with spaces into our program. And this concludes what we had to say in this lecture. I hope it made it very clear what these stdin and stdcout things are. They are basically highways that take data out of your program or bring data into your program, and the way you use them is what we've done here in this course. I would encourage you to play with this a couple of times if this is the first time you're doing this. We are going to stop here in this lecture. In the next one, we're going to try and recap on the C++ development workflow. Go ahead and finish up here and meet me there.